Hey, ladies and gents, boys and girls, back with another episode or another module, rather, another video in your module. And today we're going to talk about sleep, testosterone, and other important hormones. And this is an important piece of the puzzle when it comes to fat loss. And we'll get to those different hormones in a sec. So first of all, let's look at sleep and how important it is. And more, we're looking at the lack of sleep to start with and how this ties into your fat loss goals on this program. Lack of sleep isn't going to actually make you gain body fat, and we're going to talk about that and how that is in relation to the hormones, leptin and ghrelin, that you'll see there. So first of all, in terms of sleep for overall health, it's absolutely crucial: physical, mental, and emotional health and well-being. And I think if we were to look at sleep, exercise, and nutrition as the three pillars of health, you may have heard that before. They're the three pillars of health. I don't even believe that to be true. I believe that sleep is almost like the base, and then nutrition and exercise come off that base, because you could have the best nutrition in the world, you could be training every day, although you would find it hard to if your sleep is poor. Without having that base, everything else in life is going to become that much harder, physically, mentally, and emotionally. And it's been shown, studies show that if you're sleeping less than 6 hours, you double risk of cancer. And that's actually a spelling mistake. That should say suppresses the immune system, not surpasses the immune system. The WHO is the World Health Organization. Probably heard of them due to COVID and everything. Some of their guidelines could be a bit iffy. Some of them are spot on. And they've actually put lack of sleep down. They've actually put it on paper as a indication. It's actually a carcinogen. A carcinogen means it's potential to cause cancer. The shift work has got the potential to cause cancer because of disrupting sleep patterns and the architecture of sleep and circadian rhythms. So if you know anyone that is doing shifts, or you do shifts yourself, it's easy for me to say, just change that lifestyle, but think about that, speak to them and get them to look at that, because shift work can cause a lot of problems. Increased risk of cardiovascular disease, stroke, heart disease, and Alzheimer's are the main four, and it messes with leptin and ghrelin, two important hormones around hunger and appetite, which most people overlook, and we're going to look at them as we go through. So let's look at some sleep disruptors, the things that stop you getting sleep. Diet can play a massive role, and also the amount of food and when you eat it. For most people, if you have a heavy meal at night, it could affect the quality of your sleep. Some people, it doesn't seem to make a lot of difference, but it could for some people. Also, the quality of your food, like sugar. Again, there's a time and place for sugar, and you don't need to eliminate that. That isn't the cause of obesity, doesn't make you fat itself, but high sugar in the evening could affect your microbiome, could help you, not get the best sleep. Coffee, alcohol for sure. Just to let you know, coffee's got what we call a half-life of about 5 to 6 hours, which means that half of the caffeine will still be in the blood 5 to 6 hours later. So I recommend to all my clients and to anyone that asked, get your coffee in before 2 p.m. So then half of it still be present at 7, but by 9, 10, 11 o'clock, where most people are going to bed, most of that caffeine will be out of your blood system. Alcohol, it can help you get to sleep quicker, but you haven't fallen asleep naturally. It's more of a case you've been sedated. So alcohol will tend to get people to fall asleep, but it's under sedation and nothing to do with the natural movement from consciousness into unconsciousness. So be aware of that, and it only takes a couple of glasses. But look, I know from social perspective, having a drink, we enjoy having a drink. But if sleep's a problem for you, maybe you want to look at how much alcohol you're having before you go to bed, or at least have alcohol-free days where you can get some good sleep, and the other nights pay the piper, so to speak. Stress, and that can come from everything in life: work, family, you name it in life, work, money, relationships. We're all under a lot of stress from our environment, from our family, from work, from every area of life. So it's big factor when it comes to affecting the quality of sleep. And also devices. The very device you're on at the moment, whether it's on your laptop, your phone, your computer, any artificial blue light will interfere with melatonin. Now, melatonin is a hormone that's released in a little gland right in the center of your brain called the pineal gland. And it releases melatonin when it gets dark. Simple as that. As soon as the light goes down, the sun goes down, you dim the lights in your room, your brain is very clever. It signals, okay, it's time to go to sleep. So it'll start to release melatonin. So there's two ways of looking at this. If you want to get sleepy, come 7, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock maybe, dim the lights or put some blue light blocking glasses on, or just take the light down. And certainly get off your screen an hour before you go to bed. If you go to bed at 10, no phone, no laptop an hour before you go to bed. Go to bed at 11, obviously the same. But here's what you shouldn't do. You shouldn't supplement with melatonin. You see, they're very popular. People banging in, 3 up to 10 milligrams of melatonin. Now, melatonin is a hormone, so it's released in the pineal gland. The problem is when you supplement from an exogenous source, you can end up affecting your own production. So it's not something you want to mess with. It's probably better to look at what are you doing in terms of eradicating stress, alcohol, coffee, diet, lifestyle factors, and then maybe some natural routes as opposed to going down the hormonal route. So I don't advise taking melatonin as a supplement. Right, great ways to get some sleep. Good little technique, exercise in the morning, sunlight. And what this does, it will activate what we call the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest system. So when you exercise in the morning and get sunlight, even if it's going for a brisk walk, and get what we call movement or forward ambulation, this will react with your eyes, your optical nerves. The sunlight will go into your eyes and it can help to set your circadian rhythms. Okay, also release growth hormone, large amount of growth hormone, it's the GH there, which is fantastic hormone for growth, for everything in terms of muscle, bone, general health, anti-aging. But we activate that parasympathetic nervous system. And when that parasympathetic nervous system is activated, it'll actually lower your blood pressure and heart rate at night. So it's weird that the fact that you do something in the morning can set your circadian rhythm and allow you to get better sleep at night. So by getting sunlight in the morning and that forward movement, that forward motion, ambulations they call it, sunlight into the eyes, it doesn't even have to be bright sunlight, it could be normal light, even cloud is enough to stimulate that system, and the body thinks, okay, I'm going to lower blood pressure and heart rate at night. It's a great way to do that. We talked about alcohol, coffee, pre 2 p.m., no screen time, 2 hours before bed. On the last slide, I said 1 hour, but if you can do 2 hours, even better. Reading before bed, one of the best ways. If I get a book before I go to bed, I'm sleeping about 10 minutes. Very often I've fallen asleep with the pages dropped over my head. But also reading before bed is fantastic. When you read fiction or non-fiction and you're learning and taking words in, it's been brilliant to enhance your vocab, but also improve memory and skills. So whatever you're learning, whatever you're reading, it's almost like it sinks into the brain. The brain sleeps 6, 7, 8 hours, whatever you choose to stay in bed. And then in studies, tests, it's been shown that the comprehension of the skills or the things you were learning or reading about is far greater. So it's a really great way to relax, but also to learn. Okay. And the best way to get good sleep rather, is have a sleep ritual. And that means bed and bedtime and waking up time at the same time every day. And here's what you shouldn't do. If you have a late night, let's say your normal bedtime is, I use my example, my normal bedtime is 10, 10:30 at the latest, 10 o'clock, and I get up at 5. So I like to get 7 hours. I could sleep, but I've got things to do. I get up from 10 till 7. If I go to bed at 12, which would be late night for me, I still get up at 5 and I'll take the hit and be a bit tired. The problem is if you then sleep in, it will change your circadian rhythm. So when you go to bed at 10, you might actually, because you push that, the waking up time back later, 1 hour, even 2 hours, if it was the weekend, most people do. They go to bed a lot later and sleep in for 2 or 3 hours on the weekend. When they then go to bed at normal time, Sunday night or Monday night, they often find themselves awake because they've changed that rhythm. So sometimes it's better to take the hit, still go to bed. I mean, if you get in at 5 o'clock in the morning and your alarm time is 6 o'clock, it's probably not a wise idea to just survive in 1 hour. But if it's a couple of hours later, don't sleep in. So try and go to bed and get up at the same time as often as possible, as many times out of 7 days in the week. And it's the best way to set that circadian rhythm. Your body loves a routine when it comes to sleep. All right, testosterone. Excuse me, I'll have a quick drink. Diet Coke, you'll realize there. It won't harm me. Testosterone is the king of building muscle, burning fat, creating energy, drive, aggression, and anti-depression. And I mean aggression in a positive way, not in a way that's smashing up kebab shops and fighting with men or women on a Saturday night in the high street. I don't mean it in that way. I mean in terms of oomph and getting things done. So it's important to both men and women, but men on average have got about 10 times more testosterone than women. Just to let you know, obviously, the ladies, your predominant sex hormone is estrogen, as we know, but then importantly, estrogen is crucial for men as well. So a reduction of both an increase in testosterone and increase in estrogen for both sexes is equally important. Okay. The best way to increase testosterone is through natural ways, by the way, exercise, and in particular lifting weights. So resistance training, diet, good quality diet and good quality fats, and also some saturated fat. Now, one of the best ways is to have a small amount of butter, organic, natural butter every single day. It boosts cholesterol, and testosterone, estrogen, and all the important hormones are made from cholesterol. So we need a certain amount of cholesterol in our diet, and a great way of getting that is from full fat, organic butter. Sleep. So it's almost a case of good quality sleep, and you'll be producing your maximum amount of testosterone from a male and female. Poor sleep is where it massively eradicates or cuts into that production of testosterone. So we want to optimize sleep hygiene and habits around that if you want to build the most muscle and burn the most fat. And feeling good. Sunlight, we talked about getting sunlight in the morning. It's one of the fantastic best things you can do for all optimization of hormones, and reducing alcohol. So if you're sleeping badly, drinking heavily, and not exercising, even if you're a man or a woman, your testosterone is going to be low, and it can kill people. But for guys, we didn't look at the antidepressant. For guys in their 40s and 50s, maybe a bit older, testosterone replacement therapy can be an absolute game changer. Men, when they don't have that testosterone, they've had a reduction, and they haven't got lead in their pencil. They get depressed, start to gain body fat around the waist. Nothing's working down there. It can be quite a bleak place. Same for women though. When it comes to menopause, hormones can really wreak havoc on our physical and mental health. So let's look at insulin. This is important to know. Insulin is actually a fat storage hormone. So the argument that I still come against on social media and from personal trainers and nutritionists is that if we release insulin from our diet, we're going to store body fat. But it's not the case, and I'll explain why. So first of all, insulin is the hormone that's released by the pancreas to stabilize blood sugar. And what that means is whenever you eat any food, whether it's protein, fats, or carbs, it's going to elicit a rise in blood sugar. Okay, so your body digests it. Let's say it's a piece of bread, white bread, quite high in carbohydrates. One, start with what you're doing eating white bread. Not the best choice, but let's say you eat a slice of white bread. We all did as a kid. The body digests that. It's going to raise your blood sugar. It's going to be quite a spike in blood sugar. Blood sugar goes up, and the pancreas's job is to bring that blood sugar back down again to kind of even keel. Too high or too low is not good. Hyper is high, hypo is low blood sugar. We've all experienced that low blood sugar before, where you start to get a bit shaky, a bit sweaty, feel starving, feel want to eat. That's low blood sugar. Okay. Hyper is high blood sugar, and it either can kill you. Blood sugar rises up, pancreas releases insulin, brings the blood sugar back down. But what happens very often, if it's been simple sugars, blood sugar goes up, and so they come back down to normal level, it goes below. So you get this massive crash, a yo-yo. What happens when you go low? You get hypo, low blood sugar. Your body goes for sometimes a coffee or a cigarette in some people, or simple sugars, chocolate, biscuits, cakes. You get that massive yo-yo effect, or the roller coaster effect of being wired but tired, low energy, high energy, up and down. Not a great place to be. Now, the argument is that every time your body is releasing insulin, you get up and down, that's causing people to gain body fat. No, it couldn't be further from the truth. The reality is, it's a calorie deficit or calorie surplus will determine how much weight you lose or gain. Okay, so insulin does make you fat, even though it's a fat storage hormone. What will happen, it will store a little bit of fat in the moment, but what trumps that, what's more important than insulin being released in small amounts throughout the day, is what you do at the end of the day. So, for example, a Big Mac and fries is about 1,000 calories. Okay, so it's pure junk, tastes great. It consists of a fair amount of protein, actually, in the burger. Crap fat in the burger, simple sugars in the fries, poor choice of oil. It's been cooked in the cheap, probably sunflower oil. And the burger bun, sugars, fries is junk. High sugar, high carb, high fat, high protein, high salt. So it's very what we would call hedonic. It tastes good. You feel like you're living on the edge. It's satisfying, but it's junk food. But let's say it was 1,000 calories. Let's say I split that into 3. Now, why would you do that? You wouldn't. But let's say I had 333 calories of that in the morning, then the rest in the middle, and the rest at dinner. So I split my burger into fries into 3 small meals. So junk food, blood sugar would be going crazy all day long, but would I gain body fat? On 1,000 calories, no, I'd be starving, because I eat about 2,000 calories just to keep my weight stable. If I eat about 2,004, I tend to put a little bit of weight on. If I drop to 18, 17, I start to get quite lean. But so keeping an even keel for me is about 2,000. So even if I eat McDonald's at 1,000 calories and blood sugar and insulin's getting released like crazy, I can't gain body fat because I'm in a calorie deficit, a massive calorie deficit. Hope that makes sense. Okay, so calorie deficit is the key, regardless of insulin. So this is only a problem if you're in a surplus, and then it will promote fat storage, but you've got to be in a surplus. So leptin and ghrelin, I mentioned this before, they're not characters in the Lord of the Rings. They sound like a couple of little creatures, don't they? Leptin and ghrelin, but they're 2 important hormones around food, satiety, and appetite. So leptin is known as our satiety hormone, and it's basically released when we're full. So if you have a meal, you feel full. A high protein meal tends to decrease the appetite, or at least alleviate hunger. When you have that high protein meal, you feel that you have a nice feeling of, I feel, I've had enough. Leptin will go up, saying, you know what, we're satisfied, we're satiated. Okay, now what happens with poor sleep, and this is where sleep will play a big role in appetite and hunger and how much food ultimately you eat, and even choices to a certain extent. Poor sleep means decreased leptin. So it skews with your production of leptin. So if you're never satisfied, you're going to crave more sugar, more fat, more calories. So if that takes you into surplus, you're going to gain body fat. Now, the opposite of this, ghrelin, is our hunger hormone. So ghrelin is a survival mechanism, clever survival mechanism that says, you know what, I'm hungry, I need more food. Go and get more food, movement, action. Go and kill that wild beast. We need to eat. Okay, so if you restrict calories too much, or whenever you feel hungry, if you miss a meal and you get that, oh, I'm really hungry, I feel starving. Obviously, you're not starving, literally. But when you say that, I feel really hungry, that feeling of I'm hungry, your stomach starts rumbling, that's ghrelin saying go and eat more food. Okay. Now, poor sleep messes with this, skews ghrelin, increased ghrelin. So it actually increases your production of ghrelin. So you're always hungry. So imagine poor sleep. You wake up, if you've had 4 or 5 hours of sleep, that's enough one night to mess with leptin and ghrelin. You've got one hormone that's decreased, saying, I'm not satisfied. And you've got the other hormone that's increased that says, eat more. Never satisfied, eat more. You can imagine what that does. Here we are, poor sleep, increased leptin, decreased ghrelin, always hungry and never full. What a recipe for disaster. It's a nightmare. And that's what you get. That's what happens with poor sleep when it comes to appetite. So the actual poor sleep itself, or you could argue, we only burn body fat when we're sleeping. It's not much, but it's our preferred source of fuel by the body. We're not burning enough glycogen or carbohydrates, so it will tap into our fat stores. So if you get poor sleep, if you sleep less or less quality, you're not going to burn as much fat. But that's a negligible amount. That's not worth worrying about. It's what you do the next day. It's your behaviors. It's been shown in countless studies ad nauseum that if you have poor sleep, you're going to overeat. Sometimes up to 500 calories, even 1,000 calories more. Hands up, watching this module, this video, if you've had a bad night's sleep and all you do is think about is sugar and crave crappy, high fat, high sugar, high salt foods, I'm putting my hands up. It's hard to say no when you've had a bad night's sleep. That's not to say that having a bad night's sleep would make you eat that. It's going to drive the behavior, but you still have to overeat to get fat. So just because you're releasing these hormones doesn't mean you're going to gain weight. You still have to consume the food. I hope that makes sense. Alcohol, briefly, we've got to touch on this. There's 7 calories per gram, but no nutritional benefits. So you know there's 4 calories in a gram of protein, carbs, 9 in fat. You know this from your onboarding call, and 7 in gram of alcohol. But it's got no nutritional benefits whatsoever. It's actually a poison. Ethanol is not, there's nothing in there that a body can use in a positive way. But yeah, it does make us feel good. It's a depressant. You know, it slows everything down, lowers inhibitions and your resolve. So the problem with this is you end up saying stupid things and eating what you shouldn't be eating. Or how many times have we been at a party? I'm only going to have a couple of drinks, and 6 drinks later, someone brings around the vol-au-vents or the little snacks, and then 12 vol-au-vents later, you're like, oh God, oh fuck it, I'll start Monday. We've all been there. Hands up. Everyone say aye. Aye. You know what I'm talking about. So alcohol, good fun in moderation. Can you lose fat and drink alcohol? The answer is simply yes, you can. Of course, the devil's in the dose. It all comes down to calories. All comes down to calories. So look, 2 or 3 drinks, could be 200, 300, 400 calories, depending on your choice. Could be higher, could be lower. Yeah, I think the lowest calorie in a drink is either a vodka lime and soda, or maybe a gin and tonic with slimline tonic, around about 100 calories. So you have 3 or 4 of those, 400 calories. But what's interesting with alcohol is your metabolism is effectively on pause. Do I mention that here? Oh, it must be in another module. We'll get to that in a bit. But what happens is your body will stop burning body fat from your actual body, and will actually have to burn off the calories you've taken in from alcohol. So if you have 1,000 calories from alcohol over the weekend, come Monday, your body's not burning body fat, it's getting rid of those alcohol. So it's almost like pausing, putting a pausing on your fat burning potential on your metabolism to get rid of those calories, and then it will start. So it could have a big impact. But it's the choices when you're hungover. Do you go and have rice, broccoli, and chicken breast? Or do you get pizza or a takeaway or KFC or McDonald's? You know the answer to that. You know what you do. So beware the calorie deficit. Devil's in the dose. Yes, you can lose body fat, but you've got to be aware of how many calories are going into your body. Pick booze-free days. All right, action steps. What do you want to take away from this module? First of all, look at improving your sleep. Look at that as the first thing that you can do, and not just for what we're doing in this 12 weeks in terms of burning body fat, for your own health. I haven't put it on the slide here, but one of the best books you could read around this, and I think I mention it in the modules as we go through, is a book by Matthew Walker about why we sleep. It's one of the only books where each page was like, oh my God, I can't believe that. It's jaw-dropping. Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. Look at improving your sleep. Control your alcohol intake and be aware of leptin and ghrelin at play. Now you actually know those hormones are kicking in after you've had a bad night's sleep. You can recognize it. You like wake up the next day and you feel like I'm craving sugar or craving crappy food. You now know it's because of your bad night's sleep. It's your hormones. What does this help you with? Well, if you know these hormones have been activated, you can stop them. You're not at your mercy. You're not like, I'm going to just give in to that. That's my hormones playing tricks on my brain. It's telling me to do something. I don't want to do it. Or you could just give into it and let overeat. But you don't have to. So once you're aware of them, you can make choices around them and ignore the behaviors they're driving you to do. Hope that makes sense. All right, that's the end of the module, guys. Hopefully you take as much as you can from that. I'll see you in the next video, in the next module. Take care.